Hey guys, welcome back to another snapshot video. Today Mojang informed us about some very large changes regarding the release of the 1.17 Caves and Cliffs update. They released a video and announced that they're gonna split up the update into two parts. The reasons were also explained in the video. In case you want to check it out, I'll link it in the video description. But to make it short, they couldn't finish the 1.17 update in time, and instead of delaying everything, they decided to still release a 1.17 version as planned in summer, which contains some of the features, and the rest of the features will be released in a separate update around Christmas. I'll talk about it in a bit more detail later, what will be part of the summer release and what will be part of the winter release. But the basic outline is that all the new mobs and blocks that were already part of the snapshots will be part of the summer release, but the whole world generation, new world height, new biomes, basically the whole caves and cliffs part, is not part of the next release. This change also immediately affects the current Snapshot Worlds. In previous weeks, we had new Snapshot Worlds you couldn't update your old worlds to with the new world height and your new caves, etc. This is no longer the case. You can update your 1.16 world to the current snapshot again, because all of the terrain changes are not part of the current snapshot. So if we look underground, so we have the old style of caves, the limit is at Y0 again, and the world max height is at 255 again. The new underground cave biomes also won't be part of the next release, so no lush caves or dripstone caves, but you can still play with most of the features. So all the new blocks that were added to the game are still accessible, apart from some exceptions. Let's maybe fly around a little bit. So for example, here we can see the new deep slate blocks. They will generate, like in last week's snapshot, up to Y16 roughly. There will also be tough blocks. The geodes are still part of the new update. We can find the amethyst blocks, etc. There will be copper ore underground. So most of the features that you can play with are still accessible, just the whole generation is not. Mojang explicitly said that archaeology won't be part of the summer release. It will be released together with the terrain changes in winter. But there's still a lot of open questions that weren't really answered by the video. For example, will there be any additional content for the winter release, or is it just the remaining 1.17 features? So I don't know about that yet. Then also some of the questions weren't answered, like for example, what's going to happen with the warden. So the announcement for the summer release was it would be mobs and blocks. So I would assume the warden will be added in some way, but yeah, I think it was supposed to spawn in the deep dark biome, which obviously won't be added since all the new biomes won't be a part of the release. So we have to see how they're gonna implement that, if at all. But I think the skulk sensor is probably also tied up somehow to the whole warden, and currently it's not obtainable in survival, so we have to see about that. All the new mobs and blocks that were already part of the snapshot will definitely also make it in the summer release. So for example, the glow squid and axolotl will spawn in underground caves. Goat can be found in the mountain biome. All the new blocks will be part of the summer release, powder snow, copper, etc. Also all related blocks like the lightning rod and so on. There's just one question, what's going to happen with some of the blocks that can be found in the caves that won't be added. In some cases, you can obtain it by different ways, and in some cases, it seems like they're not obtainable yet. So for example, the moss block, which can be found in the lush caves, you can get it from shipwrecks. It's part of the chest loot, or from a wandering trader. So they're already obtainable in survival without the caves being added. Similar to glowberries, you can find those in mine shafts, in minecarts. Then from the wandering trader, you can buy the small drip leaf. The dripstone can also be bought from the wandering trader, but it also generates already underground, same as the lichen. And you can buy the rooted dirt from the wandering trader, and this way you can also get the hanging roots. Some of the new blocks you can't get in survival yet. Mojang is probably going to add a way, for example, for the azalea leaves and the spore blossom. Since there are no lush caves, also no azalea tree would generate above. You can get the flowering azalea and the azalea by bone mealing the moss block, but unfortunately this wouldn't grow in a tree. So I always had the hope that the flowering azalea or the azalea would grow into a tree if you maybe bone mill it, and this way you could maybe also get the leaves. Would be one way to maybe get those. Apart from the big announcement, there was also some new content added in today's snapshot. So those blocks I've been using here already, those are new blocks. Those are storage blocks for the raw metal that was added in last week's snapshot. It's gonna be super handy. You can craft 9 of the raw copper, iron, or gold into a raw copper, iron, or gold block. It can be super handy if you go mining. Instead of having your inventory completely filled up with the raw iron, you can just craft it all into blocks and save on inventory space this way. The block itself can also be crafted back into the raw copper, gold, or iron. But you can't, for example, put it in a furnace and smelt it directly into an iron block, for example. It would be a bit overpowered, I fear. But yeah, this is definitely going to be super handy if you go mining. It's also maybe a nice building block that in some cases could be used for something. In this snapshot, goats will now also randomly attack all living creatures. This would include the creepers, for example, or the cows, or even an armor stand, which also counts as a living creature. It's quite rare to actually see it. I saw one goat attack one creeper earlier. I think I'm just going to record it a little bit. Maybe we can see it happening. And there we go, now the goats start attacking. So previously I had a glass floor, I think this was the issue and why it didn't work. Okay, now they also attack the iron golems, but those would fight back. Unlike, for example, the creepers. Creepers wouldn't fight back. I think the reason why they don't is, Mojang probably wants to prevent the landscape being completely blown up by goats attacking creepers, etc. This might be the reason to do that. Yeah, this could maybe also be used for some kind of fun farm, where kill speed really doesn't matter. As you can see, they reliably take out the cows. It just takes quite some time. Let's quickly talk about the ore distribution in the current Snapshot Worlds. The ore distribution has been completely reset to the 1.16 status. So as before, you can find diamond between 0 and 16. You can find iron and coal really low in the world. So this is completely normal again. One addition is copper, which you can find between 0 and 192. There's also still the deep slate variants of the ores. So here we got lapis, over there redstone and iron. But those blocks will be quite rare because you only have those blobs of deep slate. Those will be quite hard to obtain in case you need it for a building block. And also some of the deep slate ore variants became relevant now. Previously, with the new world generation, where the ores would only generate at certain heights, a deep slate coal ore or copper ore wasn't really relevant. But now, since coal can generate between deep slate and copper as well, I think those blocks should also be added to the game. I think I saw it earlier. We had some coal ore directly next to deep slate. Maybe I can find it again. Here we are, found it again. So there's some normal stone coal ore between all the deep slate blocks. I think Mojang should still add those type of deep slate ores for coal, copper, and emerald as well. Even if it would be only for one version. But also quite interesting, because then you could potentially only get those type of blocks in the 1.17 release. With the new world generation, you couldn't get them anymore. Would be quite interesting. Then we got one more noteworthy change. There was a bug report that deep slate looks the same as stone on a map. This was also now adjusted. The interesting thing about it is that a complete new color was added for the maps. So if you stand on the deep slate, this looks different from stone, or for example, gray or light gray concrete, or gray terracotta. So a completely new color was added for maps, which is relevant for map art, for example. Here's, by the way, the aftermath of the goats fighting with the iron golems. So all the goats are gone, and they only managed to kill one of the iron golems. And this might also be relevant later. In Bedrock Edition, they already added a feature if a goat attacks an entity, they would drop some horns. So you can obtain an item this way. You can probably combine an iron farm with some kind of goat breeding or goat spawning setup to farm those horns later. So this feature is still missing in the Java Edition right now. Then one more note about your snapshot worlds from the previous weeks with the new world type, etc. You can continue to use those, but I need to use a data pack from now on. Alright, that's it for today. Thanks guys for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.